I've been camping since I was a kid, and I thought I'd seen it all. Rainstorms that turned my tent into a swimming pool, bears that helped themselves to my cooler, even a skunk that decided my boot was the perfect place to mark its territory. But nothing prepared me for what happened in the White Mountains that June. I had the week off and wanted to disconnect. No self-service, no emails, just me and the trail. I drove up from Boston on a Tuesday morning, picked a moderately traffic loop, and hiked about 5 miles to a dispersed camping area near a ridgeline. The spot was gorgeous. Open views to the west, a cluster of pines for shelter, and enough flat ground to pitch my 2-person tent without fighting rocks. Setup was smooth. Tent up, sleeping pad inflated, water filtered from a nearby spring. I cooked freeze-dried beef stroganoff on my pocket rocket stove and watched the sunset paint the valley in oranges and purples. By the time darkness settled in, I was in my sleeping bag with a paperback, headlamp propped against my water bottle for ambient light. Around 10:30, I killed the light and settled in. That's when I heard it. 3 knocks on the tent pole. Not taps. Knocks. Deliberate, evenly spaced. Knock. 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 I froze. Hello? I called out, trying to sound calm. No response. Just the wind moving through the pines. I unzipped the tent door and shined my headlamp around the campsite. Nothing. No eyes reflecting back, no movement, no footprints in the dirt around my tent. I told myself it was a branch, maybe a pine cone dropping at just the right angle. I zipped back in and tried to sleep. 20 minutes later, it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. Same rhythm, same pole. This time I didn't say anything. I grabbed my headlamp and burst out of the tent, sweeping the beam in every direction. Empty. The forest stood silent, like it was holding its breath with me. I stayed outside for a while, listening. Crickets, wind, the distant hoot of an owl, normal sounds. I climbed back into my tent and wedged my hiking poles against the door. If something tried to get in, I'd hear it. The 3rd time it happened, it was past midnight. Knock, knock, knock. But this time, it came from a different pole. The one at the back of my tent. I didn't investigate. I lay there, heart hammering, hand gripping my pocket knife like it would do any good. The knocking stopped, but sleep never came. At first light, I packed everything in record time. As I was rolling up my tent, I noticed something. On the back pole, right where the knocking had come from, there were 3 small scratches in fabric. Fresh ones, perfectly spaced. I reported it to the ranger station on my way out. The ranger didn't seem surprised. "You're the 3rd person this month," he said. "We don't know what it is. Could be a person, could be an animal with behavior we don't understand. But you did the right thing leaving." I still camp, but I never go alone anymore, and I always check my tent poles in the morning. My girlfriend Sarah and I plan a long weekend in the Smokies that September. We've been dating about a year, and this was our first camping trip together. She'd never been backpacking before, so I kept it simple. 2 nights, easy trail, established sites with bear cables and fire rings. We got to our site on Friday afternoon. It was perfect, tucked into a hollow with a small creek running beside it, surrounded by maples just starting to turn. We set up camp, filtered water, and I showed Sarah how to hang our food properly. She was a natural, asking all the right questions, laughing when she struggled with the bear line. That evening, we made a fire and cooked dinner. Instant rice, tuna packets, hot sauce. We sat on a log, shoulders touching, watching sparks rise into the darkening sky. It was exactly what I'd hoped for. Peaceful, romantic, just us in the woods. Around 8:30, we heard voices coming up the trail. A group of 4 people emerged into firelight. College age, carrying day packs but no camping gear. 2 guys, 2 girls. They were loud, laughing about something, passing a flask between them. "Hey, mind if we warm up by our fire?" one of the guys asked. He had a backwards cap and a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. I glanced at Sarah. She shrugged. "Sure," I said. "Pull up a log." They sat down, introduced themselves, said they were day hiking but had gotten turned around and were heading back to their car. They asked us the usual questions. Where we were from, how long we'd been camping, if we'd seen any bears. Normal stuff, but something felt off. They kept looking at our tent, at our packs hanging from the bear cable. One of the girls asked if we had any extra food. I said no, which was a lie. Sarah caught my eye but didn't say anything. After about 20 minutes, they said they needed to get moving. Long walk back, the guy with the cap said. They thanked us and headed down the trail, their voices fading into the woods. That was weird, right? Sarah asked once they were gone. A little, I admitted. We doused the fire early and got into the tent. I set my watch alarm for midnight, just a feeling. When it buzzed, I woke up and listened. At first, nothing. Then I heard it. Whispers, just outside the tent. I nudged Sarah awake and put my finger to my lips. We lay there, barely breathing. The whispers move around the tent, circling. I recognized one of the voices, the guy with the backwards cap. Then came the sound of our bear cable being messed with. The rope creaked, and I heard one of them curse quietly. "It's locked," someone whispered. They were trying to get our food. I made a decision. I grabbed my air horn, the one I carried for bears, and unzipped the tent. I stepped out, pointed at the sky, and let it rip. The sound shattered the night, echoing off the hills, for shapes scattered into trees, crashing through underbrush. I kept blasting the horn until I couldn't hear them anymore. Sarah stood behind me with her headlamp, hands shaking. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. We sat in the tent with our backs to each other, listening, waiting for them to come back. They never did. At sunrise, we hiked out. We stopped at the ranger station and filed a report. They took it seriously, asked for descriptions, said they'd increase patrols in the area. Sarah still camps with me, but now she carries her own air horn, and we never, ever invite strangers to sit at our fire. I'd been hiking the Pacific Crest Trail section through Northern California for about a week when this happened. Not through hiking, just a section hike. 7 days solo, early summer. The trail was everything I'd hoped for. Wildflowers, snowmelt streams, views that made my chest ache. On day 4, I stopped at a water source around mid-afternoon. A small lake, crystal clear, with a few other hikers filtering water and taking a break. I chatted with a couple from Oregon, shared some trail mix with a solo guy heading southbound, and filled my bottles. That's when I noticed him, a man standing about 30 yards away, partially hidden behind a cluster of pines. He wasn't at the lake. He wasn't filtering water. He was just standing there, facing my direction. I waved. He didn't wave back. I figured he was taking a break, maybe waiting for someone. I shouldered my pack and kept hiking. An hour later, I stopped at a viewpoint to take photos. As I was setting up my shot, I saw him again. Same guy, same distance, same position, standing and watching. My stomach tightened. The PCT is popular and people hike at different paces, but this felt wrong. I kept moving. By evening, I reached my planned campsite, a flat area just off the trail with room for a few tents. 2 other hikers were already there, and we exchanged greetings. I set up away from them, not wanting to crowd the space. As I was staking my tent, I glanced up the trail. He was there, standing at the tree line, still that same distance away, still watching. "Hey!" I called to the other campers. "You guys see that man up there?" They looked. "Where?" one of them asked. When I turned back, he was gone. I told them what had been happening. They offered to let me camp closer to them, and I accepted. We kept the fire going late, talking, trying to normalize the situation. But every time I looked toward the trail, I half expected to see him standing there. That night, I barely slept. Every sound made me reach for my headlamp, but morning came without incident. The other hikers headed out before me, and I took my time breaking camp. I hiked faster that day, pushing past my normal pace. Every hour, I'd stop and look back. And every time he was there, same distance, same blank expression. He never got closer. He never fell behind. He just maintained that exact distance, like he was tethered to me. On day 6, I made a decision. There was a trail junction ahead, one that led to a road and a small town. I'd have to hitch a ride, but I'd be out. I took it. As I descended toward the road, I looked back one final time. He stood at the junction, watching me go. He didn't follow. I caught a ride into town, bought a bus ticket, and went home. I reported it to the Pacific Crest Trail Association, gave them dates and a description. They said they'd alert rangers, but I never heard anything back. I haven't been back to that section. Maybe I will someday. But I think about him sometimes, standing at that junction, watching me leave. And I wonder if he's still out there, waiting for the next solo hiker who happened to camp in the wrong spot. I go winter camping. Not the smart kind with a heated shelter and propane heaters, but the minimal kind. Just me, a 4-season tent, a 0-degree sleeping bag, and enough stubbornness to make it through the night. There's something about winter's silence that summer can't touch. The snow muffles everything. You can hear your own heartbeat. That January, I drove up to the Adirondacks for a 3-day solo trip. The forecast was cold but clear. Teens at night, 20s during the day. Perfect conditions. I hiked in about 4 miles, snowshoes strapped to my pack, breaking trail through knee-deep powder. The site I picked was just off a frozen lake. Trees on 3 sides, open view to the ice. I cleared snow, pitched my tent on a foam pad, and set up a small windbreak with packed snow. Dinner was boiled ramen with summer sausage. Eaten while sitting on my pack, watching the sun set over the frozen expanse. Winter nights come fast. By 5:30, it was dark. I filtered water from a hole I chopped in the lake ice, brushed my teeth, and crawled into my tent. The cold doesn't bother me once I'm in my bag. I read for a while by headlamp, then clicked it off and let the darkness settle. Around 2 a.m., I woke up needing to pee. I didn't want to leave the warmth of my bag, but nature doesn't negotiate. I unzipped the tent and stepped out into the shocking cold. The stars were incredible, so bright they cast faint shadows on the snow. That's when I saw it. A light out on the ice, maybe 100 yards away. A single, steady light. Not moving, just sitting there in the middle of the frozen lake. I stood there confused. It was too cold for ice fishing. No one camps on lake ice. And the light was too steady to be a headlamp. It looked like a lantern, just sitting there. I watched it for a minute, then climbed back into my tent. Probably someone who'd left the light out by accident. I'd check in the morning. But when I woke up at dawn and looked out, the light was still there. Same spot, still glowing. In full daylight, I could see it clearly. It was a Coleman lantern, sitting upright on the ice. No tracks leading to it. No tracks leading away. Just a lantern. I put on my boots and walked out onto the ice. The surface was solid, at least a foot thick. As I got closer, I could see the lantern was on, fuel hissing quietly. It was cold to the touch, but still burning. I looked around. No one. No footprints. The nearest tracks were mine, coming from shore. I called out. My voice echoed across the lake and died. Nothing. I left it there and hiked back to my tent. I packed up faster than I ever have, glancing at the lantern the whole time. It sat there burning, like someone had just set it down and walked away. When I got back to the trailhead, I told a local I ran into. His face went pale. "Stay away from that lake," he said. "People have been seeing lights out there for years. Rangers have gone looking. They never find anyone." I didn't ask what he thought it was. I didn't want to know. I still winter camp, but I avoid frozen lakes now. And if I see a light where no light should be, I pack up and leave. Because sometimes the cold isn't the most dangerous thing in the winter woods. If these stories made you think twice about your next camping trip, hit that like button and subscribe for more true wilderness encounters. Drop a comment telling me which story unsettled you the most. And if you thought camping was creepy, wait until you hear what happens when hikers take the wrong trail. Click now for more real horror from the backcountry. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the next trail.